we're still here at the Inkosi Chief Albert Luthuli International Convention Center, where the conference on the elimination of child labor is currently taking place. We're exploring a lot of angles about the contribution of child labor. Where does it come from? Which areas are most prone? How much do we have as the world or as the global community? How much do countries put away in terms of helping to resolve this issue? And interestingly enough, my guest tells me about how you find most of these child laborers in particularly small business areas rather than finding them in corporate spaces. But that being said, what is the role of corporate? What's the role of those corporates that do have the money? Can they put away the CSI and commit to helping eliminate child labor? But let's talk to my guest, Mr. Innocent Dwai. He is with the Business Unity of South Africa, BUSA, to get more insight. Mr. Dwai, thank you so much for making time to speak to us.
Thank you very much.
Interesting stat that really caught my attention is the fact that you find most child laborers in more informal businesses. Tell me a little bit more about that.
It's mainly in family businesses, with unemployment and also children not committing to school. They end up leaving school or education system and focus more on family businesses. That's where you see most of the exploitation, knowingly or unknowingly, to the parents or the business owners. Because in big corporates there are formal structures,
yes.
And I don't want to speak on behalf of government, but we do work with government at NEDLEC. We do have good strict laws in our country,
yeah.
And there are open channels to disclose or rather to alarm the departments that we have if there is child labor. But if I were to make an example of the fishing industry,
yes.
You'll find that the child exploitation or child labor is in informal fishing businesses, family businesses along the coast, where children go and work in family businesses and they end up pulling heavy nets, pulling heavy fishing equipment. And also in local taverns, if you go to the townships or tuck shops, you will see that it's actually kids who are working in those informal businesses more than in corporates.
Yeah. So corporates are still your clients, and they're part of your membership. A large part of it. You have big clients that are part of BUSA. What's the conversation around with your members around how they can eliminate child labor? What role they can play with the deep pockets that they have?
You'll find out with our CSI programs, we adopt small businesses where we push those small businesses out. Again, I'll go back to the sector where I'm from. Found out in fishing that you are a mother company and there's a company which you support or it's your supplier. Then that's where you share the services like human capital, in terms of managing their human resources. You give them expertise, you give them knowledge. I think 3-4 years ago, BUSA launched with the CCMA what we call a tool, the CCMA toolkit, where we're educating small businesses on how to structure their labor laws and how to follow guidelines. That partnership is very powerful between BUSA and the CCMA, as well as government, to educate and to support the small businesses and actually avail resources to them. You just go to the website. If you go to the CCMA website, there will be a link. If you go to the BUSA website, again, there's a link which will tell you more about labor relations, basic conditions of Employment Act, employment equity, and what you need to do as a small business in terms of complying with legislation so that we eradicate child labor.
You're also a chairman or deputy chairman for Fish SA, right?
Correct.
And that's why you give us the stats about the fishing industry.
Correct.
How then can other corporates or even business lobby groups like BUSA now play a role in that particular industry and say, we are honing it? I know you mentioned that you do work with small businesses, but seeing that it's much more entrenched in that, what kind of monitoring mechanisms can be employed there?
The model that BUSA has allows a small business, the fee that is charged to be a member of BUSA is a prorated fee depending on your turnover. So we make it easy to join BUSA. BUSA is accessible to all businesses. So once you are a member, then you've got access to information. And also we educate and support the members of BUSA to make sure that there is compliance and their businesses are protected. Because if your business is highlighted as one that is exploiting child labor, you're damaging your brand and it's very difficult to recover.
Surely there should be a lot more than brand damage, you know, when a company or a business, however small or big it is, that it's found that it's participating in child labor knowingly or unknowingly. Would you say that there's a case to be made for heftier penalties?
Education first, awareness, before we get to the punitive action. We have to educate those family businesses. Sometimes they don't know. If I've got a small business and my son is out in the street, instead of him doing drugs, I would rather have him to work in the family business than to say, if we find child working in your business, we will then close down your business or put a heavy sanction on your business. Rather, more education from government and from business to support those small businesses so that people are aware of it. And also the children should be aware from school level that if I leave, I won't be able to be employed until I reach 18.
Right. Mr. Innocent Dwai, thank you so much for making time to speak to us. Speaking to us there from the Business Unity of South Africa, Mr. Innocent Dwai. Interesting fact about the role that small businesses play in child labor. And obviously this at times could be unknowing that you are doing this as a business, but it is important to check out that website that he spoke about to see if you are applying the labor laws and labor standards properly in order for you not to damage your business and find yourself in the wrong side of the law. And it's back to you in studio.